Hey guys, what is up? Lord Nick here, bringing you another episode of the Dangerous Game Podcast. This week, once again, or this time, I don't know if it's gonna. Week seems bad choicing of words. It's never weekly, but anyhow, this time I'm joined again by my friend Sarc. We have a completely different topic this time around. After discussing with him before, it's probably best that we don't talk about pros, as neither one of us are paid analysts, and we don't pay enough attention to each of the games to be able to talk enough about them. So anyhow, what we do pay enough attention to is how bad I am at League of Legends. So we're gonna start off this episode kind of going over a lot of the things I do poorly, and kind of set my benchmark here. And going forward, we're going to be working together to try to help me improve and become a better player overall, specifically at the jungle role. And moving forward, trying to see if maybe this will work out, and we're going to kind of chronicle it with the podcast as we go through it. So, yeah, let's kind of get going. I'm gonna pass the torch of figuring out how bad I am at this to Sarc, just because it's easier for somebody else to point out somebody else's flaws than to really introspectively say what you think you're the worst at. So go ahead, Sarc. Let's start it off.
Made it all sound so bad, dude.
It's gonna be rough. It's gonna be rough.
It's not about talking about how bad you are, right? It's about talking about how you can improve at the game, see? That's a little more positive.
It's the nice way of saying I suck. Alright, let's get this started.
It's okay, dude. I suck too.
There.
But,
So what are the biggest flaws that you see me making, and specifically, what do you think, of the ones that I make, what are going to be the ones that are probably the better ones to start focusing on the most?
see, this is what I needed my drink for.
Okay.
No. Okay, there isn't, anything in particular that comes to mind right away, but the biggest... Okay, one thing that really confuses me is some of your paths on your champions, because you start off at a buff, and then you go do Grump, and then you smite that, and then you go to your other buff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you go to Crab, but then you smite the second camp you do, and you smite your buff, so then you don't have smite up for the Crab. And I feel like if you want to do that, you should try to go to the Crab that you don't think he'll be at. You get what I mean?
So sometimes I do that, but I also sometimes path completely wrong. So like that's my general thought is okay, he's not going to be at this crab, right? Like he should be on top side. I should be able to get bot side crab.
It would make more sense. Exactly.
But sometimes I'll catch wind of oh, he's doing a bot gank all of 30 seconds ago, so he's gonna go for the bottom crab, right? So I go for top crab, and then he's at top crab, and it's well, shit.
Yeah,
this is a problem.
A lot too. You call out where you think the junglers. Oh my god, this actually happened in one of my scrims, except it was the other jungler who did it, and it was so fucking funny. Because one of the guys on the other team that plays streams, and I watched his fucking stream, and there's a 2v2 mid where me and my mid didn't understand what was happening, because they went really hard for him, and I was right there in the bush. And then I watched the VOD, and the other enemy jungler was no, he should be on his bot side, we're fine, he's bot. He won't be ganking here. And then they got really hard for my teammate, and 2 seconds after he says, no, don't worry, he's not here. You just see me, I'm playing Shyvana, and just ult out of the bush and kill both of them.
So in terms of I guess that's just a lot of me guessing the wrong side that I think he's gonna be at.
Okay, it's not.
So
no one guesses right all the time, right?
Yeah.
But the biggest thing is, if you can't play like you aren't wrong. You get what I mean? You have to play that there's still the odds that you could be wrong, and if that does happen, how are you gonna play it out? Or even just when you were scrimming earlier, and I was typing all the stuff to you just to give you an idea of what would go through my mind if I was playing, and that kind of stuff should be going through your mind as you play, Or the thing where, when I told you, when you're clearing your camps and there's nothing for you really to look at, just glance over at the lanes, look at the map. You don't even have to mouse over them on the map every time, but look at the map so that you understand, okay, like this one's going to be pushing in, this one's going to be pushing away.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can look at that and based on that, you can see where the enemy jungler most likely could be too. Not just based on their path, but where they'd want to gank. Like if your mid is shoving and he's bot side and your bot is pushed in, then he's most likely gonna gank mid. Or the Shaco game. That guy ganked mid so many times.
That guy
So
ganked everywhere so many
yeah,
times, so
well
all he was doing was
mid was
going
the
lane to
most.
lane.
Yeah, mid was the most. Like your mid was getting all the ganks.
Yeah.
And that should have popped in your head where, okay, then I need a path around being around mid so that when he ganks I can counter it. Or
Well,
because
he was getting some really good ganks off,
yeah.
so I didn't know where he was coming from in the lane. Like, we didn't have vision to see where he was starting from, so I never
Yeah.
knew what angle he was coming at, so I was always at the wrong angle for the counter gank.
Yeah, well, I mean, you didn't hover as much as I would have normally, and the other thing is he was ganking the right lane because you had an Ori mid, right? And you were Sejuani,
Mhm.
I think? And they were Zed Shaco. That means that, like, all the counterplay is in their hands. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
Because they're the champions who are going to be dodging your shit.
They're
Which
gonna-
means even if you're hovering to try to play against that, if they're, like, around the same skill level as you or better,
They have more
they're
potential to outplay us.
yeah, exactly. Whereas you're gonna be reacting and trying to hit them as they jump in. But if you don't, if you're the one initiating and they still have their skills up, then it's way harder for you.
Yeah, it's a
'Cause
very
their
hard
skills
lane
are just-
to
yeah.
actively gank, and it's
Exactly.
a very hard lane to react to as well,
Well,
because
it would be an easy lane to gank if they were different champions, but
yeah,
because they're champions. So then you had two options, or you had two options. You either keep covering mid or hovering mid and helping him, or you get your other lanes ahead. Which, and then the thing I said with the bot lane where when you went to go and then the brand killed himself, I was telling you to go clear your camps because if they push up, there's nothing you can do to really help them because they'll die instantly to Shaco anyway, like what happened.
yeah.
Or you want them to be shoved in so that Shaco tries to dive them and then you guys counter that shit. Do you get me?
I was
And either way,
so I thought my team was gonna let that wave bounce back towards
yeah,
neutral,
me too, me too.
and
When I want,
then they hard
maybe,
shoved it, and I was like,
yeah.
okay, that's a bit
And
of a
then
non move.
when they shoved it, you should have just left. 'Cause
I
there
thought
was
maybe,
nothing
you know
you
what,
could have done.
maybe he won't one shot the brand, right? Like maybe he hasn't gone back, maybe he
Yeah.
hasn't gotten his item here, and he's doing a greed play, and I can like, because then at that point he might be able to not one shot the brand, but then he did, and it's like, well, shit, we can't really get anything back for this, and so we both had to just
Yeah.
kind of walk out. And I mean, I think that game, yeah, there was a lot of poor counter ganking by me on that, but it was also kind of a hard one to, like, my lanes were kind of positioning in places where, like you said, in mid they have all the counterplay really, like they're both very mobile,
Yeah,
very
if it
hard
was,
to
yeah,
hard to
if
hit
it was
champs.
me, either I wouldn't have played around mid, or if I did play around mid, I'll be playing around the fact that, okay, I'm hoping that Shaco and Zed are just bad. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah,
It's not
like
where
it's
where I'm going in and I'm like, okay, this is what makes sense, and if we play this correctly, we're outplaying them. It's more like,
I was trying to
alright,
hope
they have
that
to be
Zed was gonna
bad.
like all in with a shadow, and then like that takes away a lot of his ability to get away.
Exactly.
And so
Yep.
that's what I was trying to play around there. But like the Zed wasn't really doing that. Because Shaco was there all the time, so he just waited for Shaco to get there, and then he'd all in.
You're,
And so there,
you're doing the
so
thing that I tried to help you with when I was telling you how to
mhm.
path more those few days, which is you're not clearing your camps. Like you're trying to gank way too much. Like
I felt like in
there
the
were a
team
few
oriented
times.
stuff, like I needed to kind of look around for trying to sit there and just wait to see if anybody's coming for the
Well,
ganks
the
there.
main thing is you need to be strong enough to where your gank actually matters. Otherwise, you're kind of just walking in and then to die. Like when you were mid a few times, when you were like level 4 and the Zed was like fucking level 6 already, like you're basically just a free kill to this.
Yeah, I
Like
felt
there's
like
no
in that
point
game,
in ganking or counter ganking there because
that one
he's
I'm
too ahead
thinking
or you're
badly.
too behind or both.
Yeah, that one there wasn't, you know, again, not really one of my brightest moves, but that was one of those, like, I guess my thought process in that situation ended up just being like, all right, I need to show these guys I'm not just going to let him kind of shit on mid. I'm going to try my best to help
Yeah,
him.
I get
But
that.
instead, that was like the wrong move to make. I needed to just kind of keep ignoring mid and do the objective play like I was doing like a couple times. Like we were getting dragons, we were getting Rift Heralds. Like Shaco wasn't getting any objectives. He was just getting kills. and even that he couldn't go top anymore because our top figured out he was ganking, so he's kind of playing back, and then our bot was just kicking in his bot's teeth. So even if he was going there was like the one time he got the brand for overextending, and then the next time we got all three of them. So like,
Yeah, exactly.
so like the
That is
only
fair.
lane he had an opportunity for was mid, and I needed to just kind of give up on mid there, kind of like how I give up on some of my top laners. But
Yeah.
like I,
Oh,
I I was just like I didn't want this guy to like first impression be pissed that I wasn't trying to do
yeah.
something there. So I think that was where a lot of my bad decision making came in that
Uh,
one.
I mean, it's fine to help mid, but at the most, you're gonna relieve
Hmm.
his feeding. You're not gonna. You guys aren't gonna kill them, right?
Yeah,
You're gonna prevent Chico from constantly killing Ori, which
can be
sometimes is
good.
a bad thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
and the other thing is, you need to know when you can help the Ori, and at that point, like when you're level 4, it was way too.
Yeah,
It was way too early.
there
You
was
need
one
to
of the
be.
fights that he was trying to engage on, and I called out that I wasn't 6 yet, and he said it's okay, and then he went in and got popped, and then they just all in me and killed me anyways, and it's like I should
Like
have went with my guts on that one and just kind of backed off and not done it, but
he needs Zonias, and you need to be 6 and have your jungle item. Then you guys
yeah,
might have against it, and it won't even be like a gank where, oh, you're gonna like kill them. It's gonna be a gank where Shaker's gonna show up and you'll be there, and Shaker won't kill Ori, and that's it.
yeah. I
Like
think
it
I
won't
think
be
in
where
the
you
end
turn it and kill them.
I'm becoming so paranoid of snowballing assassins at this point because of solo queue that like I thought that they were just going to gain an incremental advantage there, and I wasn't really paying attention. Like I knew we were gaining objective advantage, but I wasn't paying enough attention to the fact that we were doing that, and I was becoming scared that like, oh god, these guys are just going to be killing us and popping off. But like they didn't turn their kills into anything. They weren't pressuring towers. They weren't getting dragons. They weren't doing anything with them. They were just getting kills, and like they weren't gaining any actual pressure. Zed wasn't roaming. Like Shaco was just going back to mid. He stopped going to the other lanes, and so it's just
Yeah, the biggest thing is
like
those guys are bad. They don't
yeah.
know how to push their advantage, and the other thing is But I lost my train of thought. Oh, one thing for sure is you don't need to force anything, in those situations, especially when you're that far behind.
Yeah.
Like I think, okay, that's one thing for sure that you need to work on. You don't, you don't have like a good judgment of how strong you actually are, and not that. Okay, sometimes you're right. Like, and you go in and you play really well, or play like aggressively, and it works out for you, like especially on your Trundle plays where sometimes I'm telling you, oh, I don't think that was a good time to go in, and then as I say that, like you get a kill or something, which that's good, like that you're able to do that. But the biggest reason why that's happening is because those people are bad. Like, I don't mean to flame the people you're playing against, but
They probably have a lead on me, and I shouldn't be able to kill them there, and then they fuck up, and I capitalize
yeah,
on that.
or
And
you play really
yeah,
aggressively and they don't know what to do, and instead of trying to fight you, they just try to kite you away, but they're not good at kiting and fighting at the same time, and they're not doing as much damage as they could.
yeah.
Basically, like,
It.
if you play, okay, this is another thing I wanted to bring up to you earlier too,
Mhm.
where you like playing with O9 and you like playing with Sparky or
Sharky.
Sharky. Yeah, yeah. And the biggest thing is they're able to cover for your flaws or aggressiveness when you play, right? Like they go in with you, which is great. But like this is what I was talking about earlier, where you turn it into a really big coin flip thing. Not every player you're gonna play with is like O9 or like Spark or Sharkies, which means that half the games that you go in, assuming I don't even think half the players in
Not
the
even
league
close
play
to
like
half of them.
Sharkies or O9.
Nope,
Yeah,
not even close.
yeah. So you're just gonna go in and die, which I'm not. My point when I tell you like not to go in at those points is that I think you're wrong. You're right. It's that you're leaving it up to that player to decide if your
Yeah.
play was right or not,
I'm putting
and
too
that's
much
why.
faith in my teammates when I need to
Yeah,
be putting more
that's
faith in
why like
myself.
yeah. Well, it's not that. It's that both plays can work. Like your aggressiveness can work if your teammate is in with you, like the way Sharkies and O9 play. But if they're not, you need to be able to say, okay, I wanted to invade here, but I can't, and just walk away. Like, and you don't do that. That like what I said with the Tarek moment in normals. Like I get that it was normal, so maybe you wouldn't have done that in ranked. But when you invaded, I already knew it was a bad idea, but I followed you because I didn't want you to just like die and then be like, Like, wow.
I
Like,
wasn't gonna be
sarc.
mad if you didn't come in. Like, that's my
Yeah, yeah.
choice there, no matter what.
Well, I meant like there was still an option for us to outplay, but the margin is so small, and I know you said you're limit testing, but there's a difference in limit testing in a situation where like it's really 50-50, or like we're limit testing in the sense of they have to be fucking garbage for us to pull this off.
They were pretty
Which
garbage, but I fucking
for
botched that
them, like,
fight.
yeah. Well, I mean, you were fine. I like backed off partially too because I wasn't sure if Fiora was coming, like when she would arrive. I thought she was going to arrive from the left side. That's why I backed off. Because I had Skarner killed, but I saw him running straight towards his turret, so I was like, oh, Fiora must be right there. Like he's ready to turn the second I jump on him. But my point is that even if we win that fight, like it doesn't help us in terms of something we do in solo queue because if
Yeah.
you do that in solo queue, or not even in solo queue, in any game in general, if you win that fight, it's because they're so bad, and you should be practicing for the people who are good, not the ones who are bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I need to
But
be preparing for people that are better than me, not people that are
yeah,
worse than me.
and the limit testing should be like, okay, it's only me and him, and let's see who outplays the other person first. It shouldn't be a situation where I have to, even if I outplay him, I could still die here. Like, what's the point of limit testing there then?
To small
And,
degrees,
and
there's
you were saying, like,
situations where,
yeah,
like, that can be in my jungle, right? Like, opposed to me invading, that could be a situation where they're coming into my jungle. So just knowing how to play an unfavorable situation really is what I wanted to test out there, if that were the case. I also wanted to see if I could actually 1v1 the Skarner on his pillar.
yeah.
Just because I hadn't been able to see that yet. And then I started kicking his ass, and I was like, oh, okay, this isn't actually that big a deal.
I still had fun that game. I wanted to play it out more, but I can see why our teammates kind of gave up already.
Yeah, our
But
top laner got his face crushed in, and I was
yeah,
like, "There's not really a way I can counter gank that because I just give more CC for Fiora to counter to like parry and fuck us with." So it's like,
yeah. And then trying to think.
But
I think you need to play tanks more.
I need to play tanks more.
Unless you want to learn how to play the game a lot better in a very short amount of time. I think the reason why you do better on tanks, you miss position or randomly walk into them a lot, into the enemy team, thinking that they won't hit you. Or I don't know what you're thinking, dude. But you just run at them sometimes, and I'm like, bro, what? But like on tanks, it doesn't matter as much because you're already beefy. You know what I mean? Like them wasting a cooldown on you is good sometimes. But you have a lot of moments where I'm like, bro, what is he doing? Like he's just running at. I guess okay, this is a really big thing. It's not just that you're running at them; it's that you're running at them when your team isn't in a position to help you, and then like they're too far away to land anything, even if you go and CC them. Do you get what I mean? But on tanks, it's more forgiving because you could take a bunch of hits, and by the time that your teammate, it takes them so long to kill you that by the time they actually get you
My
low,
teammates are there
your
to clean
teammates
up.
will. Yeah. But your goal should be like to be getting in on them when your teammates are in range to be able to help you, instead of you get in on them and you're doing. I don't know if you've noticed this, but you have a lot of moments where you like tank a shit ton of skill shots, and then you're like, why are my teammates doing nothing? And it's not because your teammates are doing nothing. It's because you're running at them when your teammates aren't in range to do anything. And then by the time they are, you've already taken like 3 skill shots or some shit from the other team. And you're already at a disadvantage because they basically got 3 free hits and your team has to make up for that somehow, right? Which at that point, when that happens, usually your teammates will assume, okay, he just took a bunch of free hits. We're already at a disadvantage in this fight. He's not going to go in because it's too hard to close the gap on this situation. Do you get what I mean? But instead, you continue to go in. And then sometimes you land like really good shit. Like you land nice CC or like a nice stun or something. But then like it doesn't matter anymore because there was too much of a gap to start with. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or teammate was too far away to start with, where like you
Like,
might have
I think a
good
lot of that
skill.
comes down to when I'm very demoralized, right? Like, I'm
Yeah,
already I
Or,
do that a lot more when I'm already kind of feeling defeated.
yeah,
So like I'll come off a game where I feel like I'm playing pretty well in the early game. Let's say I get a really good. Let's say for instance I'm on Gragas. I know I don't play Gragas as much as I used to, but let's just say I'm on Gragas and I get a really good like I ping I'm coming into mid. Mid's like positioning kind of for me, and then as I'm coming in for an E flash, they back up, and then it's just like okay, so I just wasted this gank here like I just wasted my flash combo here, and like it like already starts getting into my head like, all right, I'm making plays and he's not following up on it, and then like there's a situation where it's not like they're in a good spot for me to go in anymore, and I don't have flash now, so like it's even harder for me to get my combo going properly, and then the mid dies, and then I get ping flamed, and then like the games after that, I think I just subconsciously am in this idea of like I just need to run at them like these motherfuckers want me to go in, I'm
yeah,
going in type thing. And so like
yeah, yeah.
it just kind of gets into my head that way. And
Mm,
like that's the part I think that ends up tilting me the most is just like they just like, hey, I want help. I give them actually a good play to help them, but then like they just openly decide to back off even when they are like they start in position. Like they're starting in an okay spot. Like they're not necessarily quite in range to do something, but with me doing like an E flash like that or some other type of CC move, they can be in position for it, and then they just don't respond to it. Like they don't do anything to it, and then like let's say like there was a game recently that I'm trying to remember which one it was, but let me look at my op.gg. There was a
okay.
game recently. This is a slightly different example than what you're talking about, but like I feel like this kind of feeds into what happens to be the problem. Um, what was it? It was a Fiddlesticks game. That was the one. Okay. So I got off a Fiddlesticks ulti. I set up. I ping where I'm setting up for. I've already swept it. Nobody has any vision on it. My team is setting up for the bait. I get a Fiddlesticks ulti over the wall. My team is in position to wombo with an MF ulti and for Yasuo to go in. Yasuo flashes forward to go in and do some stuff. MF heals and runs away.
Yeah.
She's full
Sometimes I
HP and
have.
just does this. And then she starts question mark pinging when we only trade one for, like, the two of us die and we only get one. And it was like we were setting up for a 3v2, and then, like, we only managed to kill one person in that time. The other person survived long enough for his team to show up and kill us, and the MF's just gone. Like, it was just like a situation like that, and that starts tilting me quite a bit. Now, the next couple of games, I ended up still performing decently, but my teammates also just kind of played better, so I wasn't tilting as hard. And, like,
I'll be right back. I need to go check on my food. But I get what you're saying. And sometimes that's just the life of solo queue, right?
yeah.
Like you didn't necessarily play that wrong, but someone just left, and it wasn't even like the example I was giving you. Oh, also, that Amumu gank when I was watching earlier, you played that really well, but you panicked, bro.
Oh,
Like,
when you're saying I needed to R then
yeah, yeah,
Q,
you need to alright, thank you. You panicked. I get it. You panicked because your boy
just ran
randomly
it in, and I was
shit
like, "What
on.
are you
Yeah,
doing?"
he's getting shit on. But I think you played that gank really well until you used your Q because you came from behind, so that there was no way that he could. Because if you came in through the river,
Hmm.
he could have wind walled. You would have to land the Q to land that gank properly, right?
Yeah.
And he could wind wall the Q. So you came from behind, which was perfect. It triggers me so much when I'm mid, and all my jungler needs to do is walk from behind to secure the gank. And instead of walking from behind, he walks in through the river,
Yeah.
and Yasuo walked away and then wind walls. So you played that well, but you panicked because you saw your boy getting shit on. But honestly, I think you played that game perfectly, and it wouldn't have even mattered if your boy was getting shit on, because you could have just walked up and hard and queued. But I get that there was like so much hesitation because your boy was getting dicked down.
Like he just went from full HP to
Yeah,
under half, and I'm like, I don't know if
yeah,
he survives if I don't just
yeah.
like go
But
in.
like the biggest thing is if you queue and are there, best situation, you save him and he doesn't die, right? But the other way around, I feel like there's almost no way you don't get the kill, even if your boy dies.
Okay.
Where you walk up and R the Yasuo, and then Q him after.
Yeah,
But
I think
either way you played that gank well. Like I wasn't expecting that, which is weird. you were playing around the win wall, and you were playing around the fact that you had to ulti before you queued. Like the only reason you did your queue was because you realized your main laner might lane.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you were saving it for after the R, which was the right play. Which that was good. But anyway, I'll be right back. I don't want to burn my food.
Okay. So I guess in the meantime, while we're waiting on him, some of the things I've noticed recently, for myself specifically, guys, has been that I have struggled very much greatly to keep my mental in check. I know this is a big struggle that a lot of people face. I've always come up with ideas for, not everybody wants to give up on just playing League, right? Like, you don't want to just step away because there's that idea that, like, you step too far away and then you get a little bit rusty in some of your abilities. But, like, you're already kind of tilted. You definitely need an outlet that isn't League or that doesn't have any real pressure to it, right? Recently, one of the things I'd found that kind of helped with this to a small degree was being able to play in a Discord. Like, I was going to a Discord, one of the League of Legends Discords, and I find people there to play normals with, and in doing so, it helped me rekindle some of my love for just League in general. I was able to just play goofy things, try out new picks. I got to show it off on stream. People were hanging out more. Like, there was a lot more diversity in what I could do, right? Like, I had a lot more options, it felt to me. More so than my normal gameplay, right? Like, I usually was just playing League to play ranked, and whenever I burned out or whenever I was just getting super tilted, I'd switch games. But a large problem that I was having with that is, unfortunately, I am not super adept with my dexterity still for computers. I just never got to that point. I was never, I was a console gamer for a very long time, and by the time I'd kind of transitioned to computers, I was very cocky, very arrogant, and didn't put enough time and effort into actually becoming as good as them. And, since then I'm getting a bit older for video game standards, and so, like, I could still probably get up there and do well if I put a ton of my mind back to it. And that's part of what this is supposed to be for, is putting my mind back to it, getting myself back on track, actively putting in the effort towards it. But that detracts some of the fun aspects of it, right? Like, there was some of those elements that I found so fun about League was that I didn't always have to try so hard. I had some natural decent talent to the game and didn't always have to think about it. And so part of what this really is going to become is taking some of these bad habits I'm developing, taking some of these bad mentals that I've been developing, and kind of trying to reforge it, right? Like, I'm trying to rebuild that from the ground up, trying to get myself to a point that I'm very happy with who I am when I'm playing League, because that's also a problem right now, is I feel like I'm kind of allowing the current bad state of most of the community to kind of get to me to a point that it's just affecting me mentally. It's making a problem between me and some friends. It's causing some problems, just me in general. So I think, just kind of taking a time to step back and analyze these things is going to help me really, one, improve as a player, which is one of the things I've always wanted to do, and two, just improving in general my ability to mentally handle these problems that I'm facing. Now, along with it, there was something else I wanted to say. Now I'm blanking completely on it. I don't necessarily, though you might hear me shitting on myself and stuff like that, I don't necessarily think that I am dumb. Don't get that wrong. I'm not a stupid person. And even when it comes to League knowledge, I still have quite a bit of it. Just because I am having issues playing well and doing things well does not mean I don't actually understand, or I don't know the core concepts of the game or the core elements to play well in the game. It just means I'm not doing them. And there's plenty of people that do that. There's a difference between having information, having knowledge, having an ability to understand something, and having that ability to apply that to what you are doing. And that's generally where skill comes in, right? That's generally what skill is being the ability to apply what you know to what you got to do. And in many ways, I have always struggled with this in a lot of games that I've played, League of Legends being the most mechanical of them and the most diverse in terms of understanding and having the most topics that I have to go through, has been one of the hardest for sure. So it's definitely not something that's just going to happen overnight, and that's hard to kind of think about. That it's not going to be this just there's not going to be this just pop. You know what? All of a sudden I'm enlightened type feeling. It's going to be a hard gradual change, and I think that's something that a lot of people don't really understand when they're taking on this daunting task of getting better, right? In my mind, I know I have a massive problem of fantasizing about how good I'm going to get, how I'm just going to, even when I'm on a win streak, it's like, oh man, I'm going to get, to this point, I'm just going to keep climbing. Nothing's going to stop me now. Like, I'm on top of the world, and as soon as I get one loss, it just breaks me, right? Like, that one loss might not break me enough to where I'm, like, tilted, but it breaks me enough to where I lose some of that confidence, just a little bit. Not a whole lot, but just a little bit, which puts a little bit of a chink in that, superficial armor of mine. And then I lose another one. And then I lose another one. And it just snowballs, right? You just snowball it. Welcome back.
Thanks, dude. Who are you talking to?
Just continuing the podcast. I don't want dead air going on.
What were you talking about then?
Mental state. The biggest thing that has been affecting me mentally wise is like I'll end up going on a win streak. Let's say I do something where I just start doing well. Sometimes it's because I'm playing well. Sometimes I'm just not a hindrance to my team and I'm just getting good teammates. But I start snowballing wins together. And how outside of the game, my mental state goes to this idea of, oh yeah, this is never going to stop. Like, right? Like, I'm just dominant. We're just winning these games in dominant fashion. I'm not paying attention to the things that are going wrong. And or even the things that I'm doing wrong in these games that I'm winning, and that's necessarily the worst thing to have happen, because I've just you just get this full of yourself feeling, and then you lose a game, and you don't necessarily lose all of that momentum, but there's that small chink in the armor. There's a small little bit of self-doubt now in this invincible persona that you're thinking of yourself as, and then you lose another game, and it'll turn around, and then you lose another one. And then you're like, it's going to turn around, and then you lose another one. And then it's obviously teammates, and then you lose another one. It's because, there's that obvious distinction of, well, these teammates were just kind of fucking hard smurfing, and these ones weren't. But you've never really looked at, your own problems and stuff like that. And it just kind of feeds onto the mental problem, right? And then it just leads into kind of an unhealthy state of like, you know what, I was winning, why am I not winning? Like, you're not looking at why you actually weren't. You're just asking the question of, why was I winning? And why you never asked why you were winning, opposed to the question's always, why am I not winning? Type of thing.
Bro, I don't know what that feels like at all, because every game I play, even when I win a bunch in a row, every time I queue up again, I'm like, God, this is gonna be it. This is gonna be the game where I get 4 enters. This is why I don't play ranked.
I don't play. You're just always in existential dread.
Yeah, this is why I don't queue up. Dude. This is why I tell you, bro, I don't know how you queue up, because, bro, I can win 10 games in a row. The next game I queue up, I'm like, I'm gonna get the enter. Like, I got 10 good games in a row. You know what that means?
I'm destined to lose.
Yeah.
It's gonna happen.
Ryan's saying, "Fuck you. Win streaks aren't for our players. This is a coin flip game."
Yeah,
I know what you feel like in the sense of when you have the coin flip games too, where like you win one, lose one, win one, lose one, and it feels like everyone you win, like even if you affected it, it wouldn't have mattered which team you were on, right? The same team would have won. And then when you lost, bro, it didn't matter which team you were on, that team was gonna lose.
Yeah.
But yeah, it takes away the sense of control, right?
Yeah.
And even when I win a bunch of games in a row where I know that I impacted it, I low-key am afraid that but the next game, it's gonna be the game where I can't control it, where I had no impact on the game, whether it be because I played terribly or because my team was just fucking terrible. Like, it doesn't matter which one, because when it happens, I fucking hate playing League. Do you get what I mean?
Oh yeah, it's one of those things like that conversation we ended up having yesterday, where I was just like, man, maybe this is just the time for me to quit this game. And then, like, I reviewed some of the stuff that I'd done in the past weeks,
That was
right?
today,
Like,
dude.
was that today? I thought that was yesterday.
No. No, you messaged me that right before your trials.
Did I? Was that right before tryouts?
Yeah, because you're
No,
like,
that
you
was
know
yesterday,
what?
dude.
Never mind.
That is yesterday.
Well, yesterday, if you count the last hour as a new day.
I guess that's true. Oh, shit. I didn't realize it already kind of rolled over one hour.
Yeah. That was
Whoops.
right before you played Nocturne.
That
Because
was right before I played
you
Nocturne.
were super depressed and you mentioned that, and then you were just like, no, fuck that. I'm just going to play Nocturne. I was like, alright, I guess that's all it takes to get enough Nick's mind.
Like, no, I was like, fuck it, you know what? I was still very depressed going into that Nocturne game, dude. Oh my god, I was so depressed going into that Nocturne game. And then, like, I didn't play it particularly great, and I didn't play it particularly bad. I was just a factor in the game. I wasn't a good factor. I wasn't a bad factor. I got second somehow, like in MVP in terms of ranking from OP.GG. I was rated the second best in the game there. My KDA of 3, 8, and 11. But a big part of that came down to the fact that I just kind of controlled objectives, and then I made the one play that allowed me and Garen to open the enemy base, and then he just ran it down and killed their base when they fought us at Baron. Like, I mean, like, we ended up making some good plays, but I don't think I particularly played that one super, super well. But it was just, like, I felt so much better on Nocturne in the early game, except for the fact that their Lee Sin was popping off and killing all my team, but, like, I wasn't really panicking, because, like, again, it was one of those games where they're just getting a lot of kills, but they don't know how to use them. Like, as long as we don't make a mistake, they're not doing anything with it. Like, they're not pushing anything. They're not doing, like, they're not, like, hard shoving, taking all our towers. They're just, like, sitting there. They're literally doing nothing. And so it's like, and then our Garen was just shitting on their Akali, so it's just like, okay, I guess if we just go late, we have Ziggs, Ezreal, Garen, we should be fine. Yeah, then the parts that kept adding that little bit of that existential dread of, like, this is a coin flip game, was our Ezreal Eing into the Yasuo into melee range. Like, and it was just like, why are you doing this? Like, what are you doing? We don't have any peel. We have a Zyra, and she gets one shot by a Lee Sin. What are you doing? It was just, like, moments of, like, sheer dread that game. That it's like, we could win this, we could lose this. And, like, if I won it or lost it, I wasn't, like, necessarily... I didn't become invested in it, right? Like, which was weird. Which was a real weird feeling. Like, it was a game that is like, if we lose this, I'm not actually mad. But if we win this, I'm not actually happy. Like, it was such an odd feeling for once.
And that's how I want to feel all the time. But
like, I'd be so down if that was my feeling in ranked every game, and then I just started going on a win spree, and it's just like, alright, something's up here. like, if that was my feeling, I think I'd play more ranked, even more ranked than I do already. But, like,
I mean,
it was just
no matter what happens, like, that's the one thing you have on me that I think I'll never be able to say about, which is that, bro, you can grind this shit out, dude. Like I don't know if you think about why I don't play ranked, but it's not because I think I'm really good or that. It's because, dude, I can't handle it. Like, if I get a few shitty games in a row, I just fucking hate League. Like, that's why I can't. That's why I can't play a bunch of games like you, dude. And no matter what I can say that I'm better than you at, I'm not better than you at that. Because you can play, like, all fucking day, dude. And I
Yeah,
can't do that.
I mean, it comes back to, like, Halo. I attribute that to my Halo days. It was, like, the
Alright, then.
biggest thing in Halo was, like, the way you got better, which you just kept playing. It doesn't fucking matter if you lost. Your performance is what mattered. Like, you could lose a game that you popped off and got a 25 kill game. If your team couldn't get the other 25 kills in that game, something's wrong with your team. Like, that is legitimately, like, as long as you're performing well, that is 100% on your fucking team in that point. Like, so I think that's also what kind of tempered, like, made me have a bad attitude in terms of how I approached League of Legends. It was like, I'm coming off a game whose only purpose was killing the enemy team. Like, your only purpose was kill hungry, kill them, like, you do well, and if you do well, it doesn't matter how, you know, if you made one or two mistakes here, if you just had a fucking ungodly game, which I was prone to doing. My average KD in fucking Halo was something of like a 7.8 or something like that. Like, I had a nasty fucking KD in Halo, but, Like, you go from something like that, and then you come to League of Legends where, yeah, cool, kills do kind of matter, but those small mistakes can cost you the entire fucking game. And, like, in Halo, it didn't. A small mistake might have just cost you a death, but that's only 1 point. It's first to 50. Like, you have plenty of room to come back from that. Like, that one death isn't going to cost you the whole game.
Here's
What is
my
this clip?
point to that. Oh, bro, it's my pop-off lacing clip. You want to see it? I did it in the scrim the other day.
Oh, I saw. Did you put this on YouTube?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw it on YouTube.
Wait, you went to my YouTube and actually watched?
Yeah, I'm subbed to your YouTube, dude.
Did you like it?
Yeah.
Did you like the play?
It was
Bro, it was
solid.
so clean. That flash on the charm, dude, that was not intended. But it looked cool as fuck. I was flashing to get closer to her. I wasn't flashing to dodge the charm. It just happened to line up. And I was like, holy shit.
You know, the
that
funniest thing
so
about that
fucking
is
cool.
when I first watched that clip, that was my initial thought there is like, I don't think he meant to do that. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think he meant to do that. Like,
Dude, I already flashed and then I saw the charm behind me and I was like, bro, that was so cool. I didn't even intend to do that.
yeah, I've done stuff like that with like Ash arrows, right? Like, just like I flash at somebody and Ash uses her arrow, and it's like it's even cooler when you know where the hitbox of the Ash arrow is, which is in its ass. Like, I've actually like it's like, oh shit, that's hitting me, and I just flashed over it, and I actually managed to not get hit by the hitbox, and that's just like one of the moments of my life that I'm just like, oh my god, I'm a fucking god. Like, it's like one of those moments that it's just like, this is so surreal, and then I die anyways, and it's like, well,
Right.
that moment's gone now.
Yeah,
But,
man.
like,
The best part is when you have those moments and you pop off, and then you're like, I've peaked.
or like
This
the
This
other
is the top of my League of Legends player's career.
the other
I'll never
day.
do anything better than this.
Like the first day I was showing Tarek on stream, and you're like, what are you doing? What is this? Like, wait, why are you gonna fight this guy? And then I killed him, and you're like, wait, what the fuck just happened? What are you doing? How is this happening?
When you killed the Cho'Gath mid, I was so confused. I was like, how did he kill him? He doesn't even have items.
It's just Tarek base auto damage is disgusting. On top of that, if I get a stun off, I can get 6 autos weaved in there usually. Yeah.
Oh, what I was going to mention was, I think you're right that in Halo, you're punished a lot less for dying compared to League. But I think you'll agree with me on this. You were so much better at Halo than League.
Oh,
And you felt much more in control of Halo than you do with League.
so
Not just because of the
yeah.
gameplay, but because you were a better player. Which
yeah, it
I feel
definitely
like
and that taints your feeling when you go to a new game, right? Like, because I can see other people that play pro on different games, and they just jump to a new game and they're automatically good at it. Even my buddy who played PC when I was in high school, that's something he was able to do. He just jumped from game to game and was really good at it. I could do that on console. I jumped from Halo to COD to like all types of games, and I was good on console with them, except maybe like football games, because that was just like it's like there is a lot of RNG in football games. As much as people are like, no, it's a legitimate skill. It's like, bitch, if there's just a random NPC that some reason glitches out and ends up on top of my dude I'm throwing the ball to, I get intercepted. It's like, what the fuck? Like, there's some janky ass shit that happens in those games. But like on console, I could jump from game to game, and I was doing really well back then. Like, that was what I did all the time. That's what I played. I played almost as much Halo daily as I do League of Legends daily. You know, like 8 to 9 hours a day of just Halo all day. You know, it could be custom games and stuff like that. But when I actually approached Halo Reach, and I was so good at Reach, like just the mechanics in Reach, they added in the DMR, and this just was like a game changer gun for me. The problem I'd always had with the BR was like the scatter burst was really cool. You made up for, you know, a little bit of lack of distance accuracy with the fact that you have 3 bullets to potentially hit somebody in the head with. Except for, like, when they add the DMR and it's only 1 bullet, people are like, oh, this is shit. But I loved it because it was so much more accurate. It was a little bit of a slower rate of fire, a lot more accurate, and I just pop people in the head and stuff. And so, like, I go into pro, and I go in to start playing with pros in Halo. Like, I never get to actually take my career off, and that's just, like, you know how demoralizing that is? It's like, I'm 15 years old. I'm superbly good at this fucking game. It's still towards the peak of its popularity. and I just don't get a chance to pursue it. Like, I don't get a chance to go out after it because my parents say no. And then I find this game called League of Legends, right? And, like, everything that's happening in that day on League of Legends is online. Not a single bit of it's, like, in person. It's like, oh my god, this is the game. I jump into this game, and I'm playing the base of it, and I'm watching games of it, and I'm like, this looks so easy. Like, everybody's making this look so easy, and it's, like, early days of League, so nobody knows what the fuck they're doing, and, like, I jump into it, and I'm fucking terrible at it. But, like, I don't process that. Like, I'm doing things that are terribly wrong, but I don't know they're terribly wrong. Right? Like, I'm doing things at the beginning of this, like, I don't know why these are wrong. And it took me so long to break from those things. But the one thing I never broke was that mentality of, I'm a fucking god at video games. Like, that was still a mind process in my mind. It's like, I'm not. I'm nowhere near as good at Halo, or as at League as I was at Halo. Like, anywhere close. Like, and the scary thing about it is, like, I went back to Halo recently at a friend's house. He was throwing a party. He had Halo on the console. People were like, let's hit it up with a fucking split screen. I was like, hell yeah. Fucking drunk off my ass, and I beat all of them motherfuckers. Like, I still maintained a level of Halo that's better than the average fucker after not playing it for 6 or 7 years. Like, it's just that ingrained into me.
Yeah.
And then I come to League, and I'm fucking struggling with goddamn gold players. Like, that's the most frustrating aspect of it, is, like, I could be so much better. I know I have the potential to be really fucking good at video games, but not this one, apparently. Like, this is, like, that, you know, that's so frustrating.
Yeah. I guess my point with that was, I wanted to point out the fact that at Halo, I'm sure, because you're so much better at it, you feel so much more in control. And my point is, with League, you don't feel that way, but that should be your goal. Like, I know that, like, I say that I go into League or in rank not that often because it annoys me, but, I mean, come on, you should know that, like, even when I lose, I blame myself for not having enough impact, and when I win, I feel like I fucking popped off a lot. And I'm sure that's how you felt when you played Halo, versus when you play League, where it feels like there's so much not in your control, right?
So,
And I think you feel that a lot more when you're not as good as you want to be, versus like in Halo, you were as good as you wanted to be and much better than the average player, so you felt much more in control.
Yeah, I can feel that. There's a lot more control in Halo in that regard. But also with Halo, like, the way the game's set up, one person could just hard carry an entire team. Like, there's no fucking doubt about that. If you were just much better than the best player on the enemy team, you could just go around and, like, I was so fast with the DMR that I got picked up for starting on a scrim squad with an MLG team, and we're playing, and they started designing a new position on the team specifically. Like, this isn't like a meta position or anything, but specifically for me, when they introduced that there was going to be on one of the maps, because for MLG they started using custom maps for it, and on one of the MLG maps, they specifically added a DMR to a spot. And the way it was working in Reach was they were going to add, they were supposed to be doing like a pick ban phase, like we choose a map, they choose map, stuff like that. And so our first map was going to be using this new idea of how I play. Because I was so good, I was the number 2 SWAT player in the world, which meant absolutely nothing. There was very, very limited amount of SWAT teams, very limited amount of SWAT tournaments, so that didn't mean anything in the end. What it did mean, though, is I was extraordinarily good at hitting headshots. So the DMR in normal required 3 shots to kill somebody. It was a 2 shots to the headshot to ruin armor, 1 shot to kill them. I could get the first 2 shots with the DMR. I could get 2 shots to the head off with 100% accuracy almost 100% of the time. About 95% of the time I was able to get double headshots on somebody. The third shot was always difficult because the gun had just a slight bit of recoil on the third shot, which was a really awkward aspect to the gun. Like, every other bullet, if you just paused and you paused enough, you just have fucking laser beams with the gun. But if you wanted to get quick 2 headshot to break somebody's armor, 2 shots, I could do that. So they put me in a position where I stopped getting kills. This was a game where I had only been, like, dominating in kills and stuff. They put me on a support position, right? Like, that's exactly what my job was 2 headshots, let somebody else finish them off. 2 headshots, let somebody else finish them off. And we just started dominating and stuff like that. So, like, even in that specific game, I let control go just because if it didn't work, I'd just go back to killing people. And, like, if I had to, I'd just go and pop off and kill people. So, like, I come into League of Legends with a mindset of, I don't need a team. I just came off a game where I am 100% in the driver's seat, right? Like you said, like, I have so much control over if we win or lose. And if we lost, I never really felt like it was a bad performance by me. Unless I was sub, like, 17 kills in a Halo match, I never felt like I was the reason we lost. Because in most cases, I was dead even. My like I said, my KDA was about a 7.8. I was just ungodly good at that game at the time. Well, I don't know if I can match it. Like I said, I'm still better than the average person at it, but I don't know if I could still match that ability after not playing it for 7 to 8 years. But it was like, there's an aspect to it that the games were so drastically different. And that was something I never took into account when I started playing League. And even now that I've played League for 9 seasons now, roughly, 9 consistent seasons, 9.5 if you consider the, like, season 1 where I split on a friend's account. But, like, I never had to work at becoming as good as I was at Halo. It was just something that I did. It was just something I was good at. Like, a lot of pros, even in League, when you ask them, how did you get good? Their response was, I don't know, get good, scrub. Like, a lot of them don't actually take the time to think about how they did it. It just kind of becomes something that's second nature to you. You play it so much, and you just become, like, you start thinking that way. It's just how you think.
A lot of them work their asses off for it. Have you seen the Star video? Where we played Dota and shit before League, and
dude,
how he wasn't good, and then he had to reevaluate everything he did.
Yeah, so some of them did stuff like that, but like, they're also working introspectively on themselves. They don't really go back to telling people. People would ask me back in the day, like, how do you get better at Halo? And I was just like, you kill people. Like, that was my response. I had no other actual response. Was like, you kill them. Like, you kill them before they kill you. That was my response. Like, yeah, sure, there's some small mechanics to it. Like, this map here, you want to be looking for this spot here because this is the likely spot they're going to be going to. There was a lot of mapping. Like, there was a lot of tracking and mapping in Halo. But other than that, like, the skill behind it really wasn't, like, it wasn't big braining, right? Like, you're not using as much. There was some things that definitely could be considered big braining, right? Like, okay, if we're at base spawn, where are the general locations they can go to? Well, there's a good weapon over here, so they're probably rushing for that spot. Or they want to go for like a plasma pistol so they can bust armor. So depending on how these teams play and how we know these teams play, we can generally guess where they're going to go. And if we have an adaptive playstyle, we can change it just to counter them and be able to just get the open lead on them and force them to take a separate spawn that's not good for them. Like, there's that type of play in Halo.
Well, this is exactly what I'm trying to tell you, Nick. You need to understand League to that level. Solo queue to that level.
I gotta understand it to that level.
To you, the Halo stuff is easy and the League stuff is hard. And my point is, League isn't that hard. You just haven't gotten to look at the game to where you understand it the way you understood Halo when you're playing it.
Which is so funny. Like,
climbing is so easy. Because, like, look at me and Dark now. Like, to us, climbing isn't a big deal because maybe not to the yours was in terms of pros, but ours is in terms of, let's say, getting diamond. To us, getting diamond is like the way you're explaining how easy it was for you to be good at Halo. And that can be as easy for you in League, too. You just gotta get to that level, too. You get what I mean?
So I think the point I'm trying to make for it is, like, it's not easy for me, though. It's so difficult for me in League. Because I generally just don't understand how to take that control. How to become so successful at being the person that's just 1v9ing a team. Like, in Halo, it was second nature because, like, legitimately my stupid answer was point and click. Like, that idea of knowing where they're going to spawn, how they're going to go, and stuff like that. I didn't work at that. That's just stuff that, like, over time, I just kind of noticed it. Right? I just kind of figured it out without, like, trying too much. It just kind of clicked in my brain, like, oh shit, like, hey, there's only like 5 separate spawns on this map. There's only like a handful of places they could end up because of these spawns, and because of that, and timing of how it takes to run, even if they have run enabled, this is about as far as they can make it. So if I just put 2 bullets here, they'll come around the corner and die. And stuff like that would happen. And like I could do stuff like that. And like when I'd explain it to people, they're like, "Oh, dude, you're like 5 heaven." Or back then there wasn't 5 heaven. They're just like, "Dude, you're so fucking smart." And it's like, but to me, it didn't feel that way. Like it wasn't something I tried at, right? Like it was just kind of a natural thing that I progressed into. And then with League, the massive difference is any jump in skill I've made in League, I've had to try my fucking ass off for. I've had to work so goddamn hard just to get to gold, just to get to plat. And then I get to plat, and I felt like I felt like I hit a 5 head moment, because there's like certain times that it's just like, oh, I have a 68% win rate on this champion over like 100 something games. I fucking discovered it. But then I start losing, and it's like, and I'm doing the same things that was making me win, and I'm like, I'm not figuring it out, and the only key factor that's different is that my teammates are different, and so like my mind just immediately jumps to the conclusion my teammates suck type idea. Like, and I don't look at like, hey, instead of finishing this, instead of like, the game that you just won with Skarner, where you end up popping off and getting all these kills because of the way that just the timing of when you got to this position allowed you to get a better fight, opposed to like being 2 seconds late to that position versus somebody else, and they happen to position better, and then their team was able to gain priority because of that. Like, my mind doesn't break down that there's just like this small nuanced difference, right? Because it can be just a fraction of a fucking second difference on one thing, that I play the exact same game and it fucking loses us the game because I'm just off by just a small amount. I make enough of a small mistake that it fucks it up, and then I start tilting, and then I start making more small mistakes, and those small mistakes start snowballing and butterfly affecting and causing losses. And like I said, the biggest point to that to me was that, like, in Halo, those small mistakes weren't as punishing. Like, sure, you start losing momentum, you die once. If you die again right after it, that can be very punishing, because now they telegraph spawns and stuff like that.
This is something that I've mentioned a lot to people, that is really important as to why people think that League, or why people tilt in League way more than any other game, right? Mm-hmm. Or other things. And the biggest comparison is the only 2 other things that I've done way more than League in my life are StarCraft 2 and soccer. And a great example of soccer is, in League, you tilt when your teammate's feeding, right? No matter what happens. Like, but in soccer, let's say my teammate sucks, he always gets burned by some guy. If I'm faster than that guy, it doesn't matter how many times my teammate gets burned. I'm still going to be faster than that guy that's beating my teammate. Which means that when he beats my teammate and it comes to me, I'll still be faster than him. But in League, if my teammate's getting his ass beat, suddenly the other guy's getting stronger. And
it's incrementally making him more powerful than I can handle.
It's making you weaker indirectly. It's not like a real sport or a real, like in Halo, right? Your teammate dying doesn't make the other guy better at aiming, which means if you're better at the game than that guy, it doesn't matter how many times he kills your teammate, you can still pop off and kill him.
Yeah.
But in League, if your teammate sucks and that guy dicks down your teammate and you go to like try to stop him and he has a whole item on you, bro, he could be fucking trash. If he has an item on you, you're gonna get dicked up.
Yeah, there's a good chance that he could dick you unless you're fucking mechanically perfect at your champion.
You do something, unless you make some crazy outplay, he can just be an average player and destroy you.
Yeah.
And it feels fucking horrible. Like, I hate that part of League.
That is one of the worst feelings that I ever have in League, right? Like, it's not necessarily always like, you know what, I played so badly this game and we lost and stuff. It's strictly, this guy got 2 kills and I know he is strictly worse than me, but god damn it, he got ahead of me, so he got tempo, he got pressure, and like, it just feels so insurmountable. And
normally, this season, Ezreal does 10% of my HP. Because my teammate fed him, his Q does a third of my HP, and now I can only get hit by 3 Qs before I die.
Yeah.
Like, get me out of this fucking game.
Like, there's situations like that that happen so fucking much, and it's just like, it feels like, what could I have done to make this better? And it's like, and in some cases this season, it has felt so bad to the point that it's just like, there wasn't much I could have done to make this better. The only thing that could have made this better was that Ezreal wasn't like 30 fucking kills at 10 minutes. Like, okay, I avoid him, but he's still killing my teammate. And I can't, like, okay, let me go try to kill this guy over here. Oh, fuck, Ezreal's here. Why are you here? Go away. And then I die anyway. So it's like, oh, fuck me. Like, it's just like, there's situations like that happen, or like, because that person's dying, and then like, I try to make that one rescue gank for them, and then the Ezreal almost kills me, and I have to run away, and it's like, oh, shit, I just wasted so much time here, and now I'm tilting, and like, there's so much negativity because of that. And like, this season especially feels like you get a lead, like, there's no way you lose. Like, if you lose when you have a, like, say a 7 or 8 kill lead, you're fucking bad. Like, the tempo swing that can give you, as long as you apply it, as long as you know how to apply it, is massive. Like, even just a 3 to 4 kill lead can fucking set your team into a position where they just take every fucking objective. They start taking towers. Like, there's a 3-0 tower lead. They have a dragon and a Rift Herald up on you. Like, it can just make that lead feel so insurmountable that it's so hard to climb out of it. And, like, and I get it, like, part of the game is learning to play from behind, right? Like, that's always been a part of the game, is learn to play from behind. And it's a struggle that I still have. Like, I understand the concepts of what we need to do to play from behind, but God only knows that I don't know how to fucking apply them, right? Like, I know the understanding, like, hey, don't take fights unless you can get a pick. Don't do risky things unless you know, like, hey, you know what, this is as strong as we're gonna get, and we have to take this fight or we're gonna lose this. Like, like,
it's kind of like playing in Halo when they have rocket or sniper spawn, right?
So
Or they have it covered. Like
sure.
you're gonna have to be a bitch, and you're gonna have to like outplay them to reclaim the positioning on the spawn on that weapon.
So like the closest thing for like, so if we're talking about regular Halo, sure, like that's like, ah, fuck, we lost a spawn there. CTF.
I didn't play Reach, but I played and watched 3 a lot, and it's the same as when they have a setup where they control sniper spawn,
yeah,
and they control, like, I don't remember. Did you play 3 much?
I did. I played a lot of 3, but my competitive days didn't really start till Reach.
Okay. You know the map where I don't remember the name of it, where there's 3 lifts and there's a sniper at the top. There's the yellow lift, and there's the 2 purple lifts.
Oh, yes.
I don't remember what it's called, but my point is, it's like when they have control of the upper area, and so you're always going to spawn lower, and you're always going to have to go up the lifts, and
you're like, well, shit, like, I have to get up here or we're going to lose.
Yeah.
But it's like, if I go up here, it's very telegraphed where I'm coming from.
You know that there's going to be a guy sitting up in the middle with the fucking, where the sniper spawns, with plasmas, waiting to throw a grenade to follow you up whatever lift you take. Either he's going to shoot you as you're coming up, or he's going to throw a grenade to follow you. Like, either way, it fucking sucks.
Like, you're in a no-win situation here, but you have to take it no matter what type of situation. Yeah, like, that's definitely, this season in general has felt very close to that in many, many of my games. It has felt like, this is a no-win situation here. Like, I have to give up shit tons of objectives and just hope they fuck up. And, like, there's always a chance, right? Like, there's always a chance, especially in gold. Like, there's always a chance these guys are just gonna, like, take the wrong step. Somebody's going to be like, we're winning, and dive tower and give us a shutdown, and then we go in 5v4 with none of our cooldowns down and just dominate them. Like, there's a chance that could happen. But good God, waiting for that is one of the scariest and most uncontrolled moments. Like, you lose all illusion of control. Like, I think that's the scariest aspect of League, right? It's the biggest thing that allows you to feel like you're winning is the illusion of control.
See, this is something I was telling you yesterday. Sorry, I choked a little. Yeah, I was telling you the other day. When you get in that situation, bro, you panic and you try to make plays that aren't there. And I was trying to tell you, You know, when Darko and I play, we get in those positions a lot too, and we never try to force or make plays the way you do, and it's because we know that we're better players, and that we don't need to force because the other team will fuck up. You know what I mean?
I
And
guess like I get
and I'm not
scared.
saying
Be-
that like you're not there because, well, not that, but I'm not saying that like it's because we're way better than you or something. It's because like we trust in the fact that if we don't force anything, we'll still be able to capitalize on their mistakes. And instead of just sitting back and letting that happen, you try to force things, which makes it even worse. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, that's a big struggle point of mine is just like when I'm ahead, I can shit talk with the best of them. It's like you ain't gonna beat me. Like I get ahead on Trundle, and like that's a terrifying moment for a lot of people. Like there's people who are probably better junglers than me, but if I get a lead on Trundle, I'm so confident and arrogant on my fucking Trundle that I'm just gonna beat the living shit out of them on every mistake they make. But the second I fall behind, I still play that way. Like I don't stop. Like it's that moment of like
Yeah.
it's like that moment of like that was something I noticed when I was playing with Sharky in '09. Like I made a point to call that out too. Was like when I play with them, they like to do the same shit. All right, like they really like playing aggressive. They like playing this like we're going for kills, hungry type thing. I want to roam. I want to kill people. I want to show off how good I am mechanically at my champion. Yet I just liked showing people that I knew how stat sticky Trundle was and beating the living shit out of them because of it. Like so like between that like the two of them enabled me to go do these things because that's how they liked to play too. So I had somebody that was always on the same page as me that liked to do these things with me, and so the 50-50 coin flip became more of like a 75-25 coin flip. Like we only lost like one in every 4 games, and like so that's a pretty good win rate. That's a pretty solid win rate together
I
because of
don't
that.
know about at the end there, buddy.
Huh?
I don't know about at the end of your duo careers with those guys.
Towards the end it was getting rougher because like I started losing a lot of my confidence. When I played by myself I couldn't win, and when I played with them, the two of them wanted me to do two separate things. Like towards the end, '09 really wanted me to just be in his lane and force fights in his lane,
Yep.
and follow him under tower for dives and shit. And like that, like I get it. Like I'm an aggressive and like risk taking person, but towers scare me, man. There's a reason I'm in the jungle. Like I don't want to go near those things. They hurt. Like come fight over here in the dark. Like it's fine. Like and then like towards the end because I'd been playing with around '09 style and I gotten so used to how the Skarner played, I couldn't play that same aggressively destructive Trundle play with Sharky. Like Sharky couldn't play as much, so that's why I started playing with '09. And then like with that, like towards the end of it, like our careers just like we just kind of stopped syncing because of the fact that like I adjusted my play to like you know what I realized this is a bad way for me to be playing, especially when I went against the guys that were supposedly smurfing that did that, and I realized just like and like they're or no I didn't play against them, they're on my team, and they just didn't win the game. Like they ended up actually costing us a lot of the game because they didn't take that gold lead they'd acquired to do anything with it. They were just kind of like they got the kills and then they'd back and buy items, and then they come back, get more kills, back and buy items. They get more kills, back and buy
Are you
items.
talking about Wari and that Akali in that one game?
Yeah, and the Ari was like I was actually somewhat impressed with the Ari's ability to roam and do things
Dude,
and stuff like
you
that.
guys, what happened that game was you guys were fucking worthless. And I ain't saying that in some way to flame you guys, because I've been in that position too.
But like
But
I couldn't
but
do
you,
anything. Like
yeah, yeah.
they were taking
No,
they
no.
either
I
did
don't.
all the kills or like I was like, okay, they want to go for kills. So I'm trying to set up a play and then they don't do anything around me, and then I'm like then I die, and it's like, well shit, like we just gave up everything now. Like I can't
Yeah,
do
yeah.
anything this game. Like I just imagine
Oh,
like
like the worst part about those games is those guys feel like they're ahead, so they feel like they can force more, right? But they don't realize how far you are behind. So they're ready to force and make all these plays, but they can't force when their teammates are behind.
yeah, they can't force like when we have an
Yeah,
0-9
yeah,
bot
that
lane.
part I agree with, right?
Like
Like,
that was the
but
part that was upsetting me. I was like,
but
our bot lane is
the,
massively behind. They have a
the part
stupid
that
fed
sucks
like
is
Vayne
like
or something.
the part that sucks for them is they're popping off. In most positions, when you're that far ahead, you should be forcing. because you're strong. Like, but the problem is your teammates are so weak that when you force, you can make the right play every time, and your teammate needs to do the smallest thing to help you win. The problem is, even the smallest thing is hard for your teammate to do
Because
because your
we're so
teammate's
far
fucking
behind.
behind. Yeah. So there's like this situation where it's like no matter how good they are, there's no right play to make
Yeah.
because they can't force objectives because they're not. Like, remember, they were playing RA Kali,
They're
which
not good
means
at
they
objectives,
have
so.
shit objectives. Yeah,
Which
they
I
want to get
like.
picks and kills,
In that
and
game, I wanted them just to come and protect me. It's like, all right, like if you just come down here and you zone them, you fuckers can go hunting for fucking kills for all I care. But that
yeah,
allows me to get the dragon. I just need you to come down here and bring that fucking aggression down here. Just do that,
yeah,
please.
yeah.
And like
Like,
they wouldn't do it. Like they wouldn't move from their spots. And it's like,
I
motherfuckers,
mean,
just move a
where
little
you
bit.
pointed out the one point where you wanted to play around dragon, then your Kali roamed top.
Yeah,
Remember,
to go
the
kill off
opponent,
their split
yeah,
pusher who was already
the
like 0-7. It was just
the
like,
enemy mid roam bot, and when he saw his opponent roam, he roamed top, which I'm not saying that it would have like that it really. I don't know what I'm trying to say. I guess my biggest point is you don't even know if he came bot if that would have worked out for you guys. So to him, that was like the call to make, and I don't think it really mattered. Like at the end of the day, your whatever snowball happened, your team kind of just got cucked out of it.
like I mean, like they got
Like
snowballed, and I
and
was just
that's like
like, I
that's
felt
not
like
true.
if I felt like there was a point that they'd snowballed enough that like if they just grouped with us, like we weren't so far behind that we were out of the game yet, but like they were already kind of like just like writing us off because they
Yeah,
were
yeah.
duoed, they were smurfing, they're like, ah, fuck it, we'll just hard carry these guys,
Or they
and
were thinking like it doesn't matter how much we fuck around, right? Because we're gonna win.
yeah, exactly, or they're just like in that
Yeah,
yeah that mindset happens a lot too because I know me and Sharky have done that a couple times and lost us
yeah,
a game or two, but like it just like that game to me cemented like I don't want to play that style anymore. Like that game to me showed me like I could see all the mistakes they were making that didn't necessarily mean they were mistakes, but like to a person who's behind, like I got to feel like my team's winning and then all of a sudden I like we're not winning. Like
You know the difference
oof.
between me and you, Nick? You know what I would have learned from that game?
Hmm.
I would have learned that, bro, I was so fucking garbage that game that I had 2 hard smash and I still lost. That's the difference between me and you, man. It would have triggered me. Not that those guys decided to play however they wanted and we lost the game. It would have triggered me that I had 2 guys on my team with 10 plus kills, and I couldn't even be useful enough for us to win.
Like yeah,
Like,
like I think that's
like
what I became ultimately frustrated at, but I like focused it on them and blamed them for it.
yeah,
But like to a small degree there was a point they fucked up, but there was a point that it was just like I can't do anything. It was the same
yeah,
frustration I was feeling when I was playing on the DCCS, right? Like there were points where my teammates are actually getting ahead on certain lanes, but I'm so far behind, I can't play the role that they want me to play. Like, I just instantly pop if I go into that tanky role, like, that I was supposed to be playing. I'm, like, 3 items behind the enemy jungler, who's a damage-oriented or early jungle. So, like, I legitimately have to wait and see if my team makes the right play for me to do anything. Like, there was one game on set that I got shut down. Like, I got a super early lead, but, like, the same problem occurred that my teammates didn't want to play the mid-game in any significant way. Their response was, "Oh, we're not at my late game power spike. I don't want to be doing this." And it's like it doesn't like I get it. Your mid game is slightly weaker than your late game, but like we have a lead. If we just keep this momentum going, like our lead is like a 7-0 lead. If we just keep this momentum, keep playing around objectives, we win this. And then they just stopped doing that. Like they just made this hard stop of like, nah, we're just gonna hard farm now. And it's like, all right, are we going for dragon? And they're like, yeah, we're going for dragon. So I go there, and then nobody follows up for dragon, and then I die, and it's just like, it became that moment. It's like, okay, I'm no longer like I'm 5-0 on fucking set, but I can't do anything because my team doesn't feel like they're strong enough to do anything. Like it ends up like I guess that's the reversal of it, right? Like it's that reverse feeling like I got ahead and now I don't feel like I can do anything because my team's so far behind. Like I feel like there's like a structure there, like no matter which way you're in there, like it always feels like there's somebody like on either side of that situation, right? It always feels bad because
yeah,
like you're so far ahead, you feel like you could hard carry this, but you just need your team to step up and do this small thing. But like you said, they can't. But then like on the revip side of it, you want to be able to do that thing, but you know you can't. Like it's frustrating on both ends of it. Like you're stuck in a situation where like you have a loaded gun that you just need to pull on the guy that's holding you hostage. But if you do that, you know, you're in a Mexican standoff essentially, right? Like like you have the way to win this, but you're gonna probably die in the process. Like,
And this kind of leads me back to the example I kept using with Halo, where in Halo, I'm sure as much of a detriment as your team felt, you always felt like you were in the position to carry.
yeah,
And
like
when you were, and then their decisions didn't affect the fact that you can pop off.
exactly.
And that's what I'm trying to explain to you in League, which I'm not saying that you're there, because clearly you're not, but you can get to a position where, bro, it doesn't matter how bad your team is, you're gonna pop off and you know you're gonna win, and their decisions won't affect how you want to play. And that's what I was trying to explain to you with the thing where the way you're jungling, you're relying on how your teammate reacts to win the game. And trying to tell you, there's a way to play where how your teammate reacts doesn't affect how much you're impacting the game.
So like the struggle I have with that understanding that concept to me is that to
Yeah,
have that pressure, like you have to be able to go into their lane and do something with it.
yeah. I was
And
gonna say for sure
so
that
like there doesn't
that
ever feel like there's a situation like in Halo where it's 100% guaranteed I will just 1v9 this game because of the role I chose is so reliant on being able to go into a lane, getting that kill. Like I can't invade the enemy jungle if I don't have the pressure.
this is exactly what I'm telling you, dude. You feel all that pressure because you're not there yet. I'm sure other people in Halo feel the same way you feel about League, but it's because they weren't as good as you were at Halo, and so they feel like it's unsurmountable or fucking where they can't pass that point, you know. But
Insurmountable, yeah.
yeah, yeah, but like, but you could, and so you know how it feels. So if someone was giving you that in Halo, you'd be like, bro, just
Just
get
shoot them.
good.
Like
Yeah, yeah.
my
That's
response
how
is
I
shoot
feel right
them.
now, dude. It's like just get good. It's easy, but it's easy to you because you wear that, and that's what I'm trying to explain to you here, dude. Like,
But I feel
to
like the
me, it makes
games
people
themselves are
think
so different that it's not. Like
different in the sense that your own skill level is not the same. It's not as easy to get to for you in League as it was for you in Halo, and it's the other way around for me, right? In Halo, there would be things that you could do
you see,
where I'd be like,
but there is still
bro,
that aspect that one mistake from one other person on your team can cost your team the game. While in Halo, one mistake, that only time that ever happened is if it's a 49-49 game in Halo.
but
Like
but
that's the
if I was
only other time that happens. Like
I meant in the sense where if I was playing Halo though, Nick, one kill would feel like my team already fucked up too much for me to win. But for you, that wouldn't fucking matter. And I'm saying in League, a few mistakes for me doesn't matter, but for you, it feels like a huge deal
I
because you
I
reached the
guess
point where
I guess I don't
yeah.
I feel like the
I'm not
game
saying
is
that it's an exact perfect analogy, because it's not. You're right, but I'm trying to make it as close as possible. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah, I
Like,
get that you're trying to say like you're just not at the point where it becomes second nature, and I understand that. I know I'm not at that point that it's second nature. I've noticed I'm not at that point where it's second nature for me, um, and it's you know it kind of lends itself to feeling like that is an insurmountable ability to get to.
yeah, my point is that you can
Um,
do it, but don't focus on all the things your teammates are doing wrong, and try to focus on the few things that you could change or improve about your gameplay, so that you feel like the way you did in Halo, where your teammates' mistakes aren't a detriment to your play.
yeah, I mean, I felt like towards the beginning when I was on the Trundle kick, like I felt that way pretty consistently. Like I
Yeah,
ignored
yeah.
you so much, and I was just like, "Nah, screw this. Watch this, Sark."
Yeah,
And you're
I was
like, "No,
gonna
don't do
say,
this." And then I get 3 kills, and you're like, "Okay, something happened here.
I
What's
was
going
gonna
on?"
say, there are plenty of games where you play, and regardless of what your teammate's doing, you actually pop off. And my point is, you can do that to like not every game, because clearly there will be games you'll lose in League no matter what, but you
Yeah,
can do that to more games than you currently are doing to.
yeah. I think the struggle I have is if I don't play this super aggressive champion that snowball. If I don't play a champion that snowballs, it feels like that's just such a hard ability to do, right? Let's take the idea that I like playing tanks because, like you said, they're not as punishing. Like if I make a mistake on a tank, it's a lot less punishing than if I make a mistake on an assassin. Like, I can walk in I can misposition slightly as a tank, and they're gonna get some damage on me. I can just back off, and like if I'm on Warmogs, I'll just heal up. Or like if I just like I can just back up and just be like, all right, I'll re-engage this in a minute. But if like I'm on an assassin and I make that mistake, I probably popped. I'm probably dead. Like
exactly.
and so like I like the idea of the tanks for that. Like at least at the start right now, that's probably a better idea. Like I should be playing these just to make sure that I am
Like a good example is when I mentioned, I don't know if you remember, I mentioned I like you on Zach a lot. Like the difference between Zach and Fiddles, right? Let's say you hop over a wall on Zach that you shouldn't have, and you run into them. Okay,
CC them, run away.
You still have aftershock because most likely you'll land your E at least minimum.
If not, press R and run away.
Yeah, you have aftershock. You press R, you run away. Or even if that doesn't work, you have your passive. So your team has a lot of time to react to this. But if you're Fiddlesticks, bro, you go over the wall,
hope you have a Zonias.
Yeah, and you don't have time to react to the Zonias, bro, you're just dead.
Yeah, like
that's the difference between you and Zach and you and Fiddles. Where,
yeah.
Like, you make a lot of good plays on Zach, and you make a lot of good plays on Fiddles.
But that one time I make a bad play, it's less punishing on Zach.
When you make the bad play on Zach, you don't instantly die and get punished for it. If you make the bad play on Fiddle, bro,
you might have just lost a Baron. Like,
you would have lost objective or control over something.
So yeah, I mean, I guess right now, at least for the climb, the way I like to play until I can get some of these core basic things back to hammered down to where I'm confident in them again, I should probably stick to them. I should probably play more Zach and like Sejuani or something like that.
Oh, I was gonna ask, how do you So I noticed you've been playing Tank Trundle. How do you feel about that?
I'm not as big of a fan of it. I've tried it, and like, man, I don't feel nearly as strong on him. Like, I don't get to go dickening. I don't give somebody the dickening like I do when I'm on fucking full attack. I was gonna say, you don't insta-pop people like you do on the full damage Trundle, but you still do a decent amount of damage. Yeah, like, your damage is pretty good still, but like, after I've done my build, it like feels like I'm a fucking wet noodle, dude. Like, I'm smacking somebody, I'm like, you're not dead. You should be dead. Die, motherfucker, die. like
no, but see, the best thing about Tank Trundle is that's you. Everyone's gonna be hitting you, and I'm like, bro, why isn't Nick dying?
Yeah.
Like, and then I guess you just taunt their tank, and their tank is like, bro, I'm so tanky.
The downside to that, the downside.
And then they come in and you ult them, and they're like, bro, I'm melting. What is going on?
The problem I have with that is when they don't buy a tank, and then I'm going Tank Trundle, and it's like, I have no stats to gain here.
Bro,
this is a bad
situation. You ult whoever's out of position, and they instant die.
Yeah, true. I guess I can punish their Ezreal for Eing into my face, but like, I don't know. It feels so weird not being able to just like run somebody down and just like get 5 attacks off in a second, and they're just like, what the fuck just happened? Like, that also feels so much more satisfying when I just like basically assassin Trundle somebody, and they're just like, what just happened? Like. But like, I mean, there has been some Tank Trundle, and like, I can play it. I think I can do that in like a team environment, and that's another thing that was really odd to me was like, I started playing with all these teams and stuff, and like, we're playing scrim games and stuff like that. And I feel like I'm playing so much better than I do in solo queue to a degree in these games. Like, I don't know, like today's games with the scrims, like I felt like I played a shit ton better in the scrim games today than I did in like solo queue recently.
I know, so your scores and your scrims are definitely always better than your solo queue.
Yeah, I mean, like,
and I think partially is what I've mentioned before, where, bro, when you do something and it's a bad idea, your teammates tell you it's a bad idea.
Yeah.
And you're willing to be like, all right, he's not gonna follow me, so I'm not gonna go in. But in solo queue, you're like,
I also get a direct response from them too, to a degree, like, which is something that's nice.
Wait, before that one in Mumu play, where the guy asked you to go mid to help him kill the Yasuo, bro, I was like, Nick, please don't do it. You're not in a position to help.
Which one? Which play was that?
The one where he wanted to dive the Yasuo, and then and then as soon as you walked into the bush, Karthus was doing his red, and Karthus was like, Bro, yeah, I see a Mumu right here. It's in this bush, and they all
Dude, then
ran
I turned
towards.
around and almost one popped that fucking
Yeah,
Karthus. Like, that felt
but
good, but like I was like, ah, fuck, I'm screwed. Like, as soon as I saw
yeah,
Karthus, I was like, ah, I'm fucked. Like,
the biggest thing was you just got all the gold from bot, right? And then you got Scuttle, and then your blue was coming up, and I was like, all right, just recall, go get your blue, so that you have blue and your big item
I
spike,
got baited by
so
my
that you
teammate.
get to fight. Yeah, instead you were like, oh no, I'll come help you mid, and I was like, oh my god, like that's that's a good play in terms of helping a teammate, but that is not a good play in terms of how strong you are. Like you need to be able to tell your teammate, hey, I don't have items right now. I just got a bunch of gold. My blue is about to spawn. Just let me go by.
Like, I had
Like,
a bunch of gold, but Yasuo also was so low, I was like, you know what? Like, this is kind of greedy, but I don't think there's any way that Karthus can really punish for this as long as I play this right? And then I queued a minion, and I was like, I'm probably dead now. Like,
yeah,
as
that's
soon
true.
as I queued that minion, I'm
Honestly,
instantly
I have
new.
no understanding of what you thought was gonna happen there, dude.
Like,
Like,
I don't know what I did either. Like, I was just like, maybe you know what? He's gonna fear flash towards me. That's what's gonna happen. I don't know why I thought that. Like, I don't know why my brain was just like, this is what's gonna happen. And so I like 5-brain it, and then I just take 2 tower shots, and I'm walking back, and I'm like, I'm dead now. Like that was my only thought process at this point. Was like, I'm dead. Like,
but yeah, because everything else you did up to that point was good. You had a lot of gold. You just got first turret. You got Scuttle. Like, you had a good lead already.
and like, well, even the ward, like, if I just placed that ward and was like, all right, let's just back the fuck off. Like, let's just back
Yeah.
up here. Like, I don't think I can do this. There's a minion wave and stuff. Like, nah, I just full on tunnel greeted it. It was like, I can do this. And then queued a minion like that was point blank in front of me, and it was just like, you know, like it felt like the Ralph Wiggums meme. Like, I'm in danger. Like, instantly at that point.
You need to make a big brain play, dude. Like the Lee Sin Q smite. You need to Q smite the minion and then hit him and then ult.
Oh yeah, with the
That-
Amumu Q being as fast as it
Yeah,
is. Yeah, let's do it.
Dude, that would have been the biggest brain play.
It would have been amazing to watch, but it would have been
would've-
increasingly difficult to do.
Yeah, and it would have been very low percentage, but I mean,
Very
that's
small
what you
chance
gotta
of winning.
do sometimes.
It would have been what would have more likely happened would have been like a Q goes out, gets the hitbox, the smite kills the minion, and I just pull to where the minion was.
No, I was gonna say, you could have done the me where you try to do that play and you smite the minion, but it's the fucking minion in the front where that's too much HP. And it doesn't matter that you smited it because it didn't die, and then you're like, alright, let's just pretend I didn't even come to this lane.
There was like also in that game, like after that first game, I was like, I had no respect for the team we were against. I was like, these guys,
Yeah, I was gonna
we're
say, they're really
outclassing,
bad.
we're outclassing these guys by a massive amount. Like, we had a small amount of macro in the first game. That was mostly our bot lane dicked them, and I didn't have to do much. Like, it was. And then the second game, again, bot lane, while dying the most, was still having a fuck ton of pressure in that lane. Like, I looked at my bot score at one point, and I was like, oh, Brand's like 1-0-2. I was like, oh, that's not bad. And then I look at Jin, and he's 0-4, and I was like, something happened here. I wasn't paying attention, and something happened here. Like, but it was just like, we still got tower first. Like, it was... You know, we were losing kills, but we were getting objectives, and it was just like they just didn't know how to pressure the map. Like, there was some really bad decision by that enemy team. So like, even when I went and made that bad play,
Yeah,
I had no fear that we were gonna lose off of it either. Like, it was just like, I make this bad play, it's a bad play. I make this play and it works, I'm a fucking god. Like, there's no loss to this play.
I was gonna say, the Shaco game was in the scrim too, right?
So that was against randos. That was against some dudes in a normal game.
Okay.
And like
'Cause
that
I was
Shaco
gonna
was
say-
outmaneuvering me early, but like he was also just like he was so good at positioning where we didn't have a ward. Like, he was jumping in, like, we had so much vision, and he was jumping in the one spot we didn't have vision from. Like, like, I should be playing around that, like, but there's also, like, those spots that we don't have vision in, we'd have to overextend horribly for him to utilize on it. And we kept doing it. Like, that was the part I was like, God damn it. Like, I didn't want to cuss her. I didn't want to say anything about it, but it was like,
that's what's like,
it was just like,
problem.
it was just like, it just felt like we were greeting at wrong times, and then somebody was just dying to Shaco, and it's like, all right, he's getting fed off of just stupid plays on our part, not because he's actually that good on Shaco. Like,
alright, it's a solo queue game, man.
Yeah,
that's
definitely what it felt like.
And I was gonna say, regardless of your vision, that's like the strength of Shaco in general. he can gank from anywhere.
Yeah.
And so if you put the wards in positions where he's ganking, where you're gonna see his gank, where it's not a traditional ganking or warding spot, then you're risking the fact that, well, if he pats like if he passed the way any other champion would, then he would be ganking right here.
Exactly.
But then if you do it there, then he has the option of doing it in the other spot.
Yeah, he's got a
So
lot
like
of power.
it's so hard to
Yeah.
position or ward perfectly for a Shaco.
I liked that I ended up countering him with my passive, right? Like that was something I was really cool interaction. I was super happy to see, and like I kept being able to call which Shaco was the real one because I'd get 3 stacks of my Sejuani E on him, and then he'd ulti, and then whichever one had the stacks on him was the one I attacked, and we'd kill him.
Yeah.
Like, oh man, I was so happy. I was like, I noticed that off of the first time that he ultied in front of me, and I was like, all right, I got this. I know which one it is every fucking time now. Like, he's kind of fucked. Like, he also didn't do the invisible. He never did the ulti invisibility trick, which also caught me off guard because most Shaco players that main Shaco do that all the time, where they press ulti and then press Q mid ulti to stay invisible and have just the clone show up.
Oh yeah, that's
Because
really
to make them
annoying.
think that you just queued and opposed to ulting. Like, it's a really solid trick. Ain't gonna lie, it's pretty good. Uh, but yeah, no, he never did that, and so it's just like, all right, cool. So like, he didn't do those tricks, but I feel like that's something AP Shagos do more often. Anyhow, um, I don't know. I feel like we've kind of hit a good baseline here. Like, I'm not like you said earlier, I'm not particularly phenomenal at any one thing, but I'm not particularly bad at any one thing either. I'm just kind of across the bar. Like, I need to find something that I become good at and just kind of start working at that and then start progressing, maybe just progress each of those up so that I become better at each one of those individual things. Um,
Yeah, that would be really good.
so, like,
I was gonna say one thing about solo queue junglers I feel like that sometimes happens that you don't do is where sometimes I prefer a random solo queue jungler over you, is that even if they're not playing like super well, they randomly do one thing really well a lot. And I'd rather have that because then I know how to play around it. Versus
the guy
versus
that's
someone,
neutrally good at everything but not great enough to carry
yeah,
you from
where
one thing.
yeah, exactly.
Like, again, it comes down to what I boiled myself down to is I'm a supportive jungler. Like, I'm particularly good at being okay at just enough things to not be a detriment to
I,
my team, but because
I'll
I'm not
admit
great
that.
at anything, it makes it harder unless my team knows how they want to win. And if they know how to they want to win, I'll slot myself
No,
into that somehow.
sometimes you're definitely a detriment because you're trying to make something happen when you shouldn't.
Sometimes my
But
team also just drafts like shit, and I feel like I have to somehow make
okay,
these plays. Like,
one thing for sure though, bro, your Tarek was way better than I thought it would be. I was in, I'm like, bro, he's popping off on Tarek.
yeah, a lot of people get shocked by it. Did you happen to watch those games that I was against the Elite Smurf?
No, I didn't.
So there was
Also,
2 games
dude,
in a
I
row
watched.
that there was a guy who is a Grandmaster Elise player was smurfing and boosting his friend. In the first game, he dicked my mid so fucking hard. And I got put behind. And then he started just, because he got like 2 kills early on my mid, he just invaded and one-shot me. And it's just like, well, fuck me. I'm Tarek, and I'm versing Elise. Like, he has a lot of outplay potential here, and I have 1 stun. This is bad. Like, so, like, I got shut down hard that game. The next game, I tell my mid laner what this guy's gonna do, and I set myself up in the bush for the exact gank that he did before. I'm only level 2, mind you. He's level 3. But because they didn't have it warded, he walks straight at the bush. I stun him. My Lysandra jumps in. We CC lock him, and I just smack the shit and kill the spider. Get first blood. They then try, like, and then we turn around, kill the Kiana. They then later, like, I catch Elise trying to do a gank, and I go for the attack. They two jump at me. My Liz comes by, and we both barely live through it, getting a fucking double kill off of it. So, like, we have, like, a 4-0 lead on them. Like, I have, like, completely dismantled the game from the game before. We ended up losing the game anyways, but, like, it was, like, I played the early game so well. I was so happy. I was like, oh, God. Like, that game before it, I ended up going, like, 0-8-7. Like, I ended up with a really bad game the game before. And then the next game, like, I started popping off, and I was like, all right, I just had a bad game. Like I can still do good on this champion. It's not that this champion is shit. I had a bad game. It happens. Okay, like I had to prove it to myself. And I think that's something I need to kind of look at more. Is just like being accepting of the fact that I had a bad game. Move on, go to the next game, and not be upset that I had a bad game. Like, okay, I didn't play this as well as I should have. Let me move on to the next one and try to play it better. Like, I feel like I just kind of get stuck in that loop of like where it's just like it's easier to say like I said, it's easier to give criticism to somebody else than to look introspectively at the criticism you need to see for yourself. And like so like it's very easy for me to be like, well, this person fucked up here, even though my one mistake probably cost us the game. They set it up for it to be cost. Like that's the excuse that I make and a lot of people make, but like that's still like just generally my go-to thing, and that's I want to break that mold. Man, that's gonna be one of the hardest things to break. I know for a fucking fact that's gonna be the hardest thing to break.
As long as you're trying, bro, it's good.
All right. Well, I think
I never thought it'd be something that you acknowledge, because ever since we've known each other, I've mentioned that about you.
Hey, dude, it did not help that I won so many TeamSpeak tournaments. It did not help that I was being drafted as this guy who was actually a pretty solid mechanical ADC, who was a fucking big mouth dumbass that won a lot of tourneys because all I put is fucking Teemo ADC only, no mic. And so one person could keep drafting me onto his team. I almost got banned from those tournaments for that shit. You know that? They almost banned me because all I would do is put Teemo ADC only, no mic, so that one person that knew me would pick me, and then we'd have a stacked team. And like I'd go to the last round, and he'd end up with me, the lowest ranked person on his team, as silver, and he'd pick like all these gold and stuff like that. He'd pick us early support, stuff like that, pick good players, and just make up for my shittiness. But I was good enough to not die all the time, and that's what they needed to carry. Like, that was apparently was my only factor. Like, I thought I was a god at ADC. Turns out, down the road later, he let me know, he's like, nah, it's just because you don't die as ADC, so we can hard carry your ass. It's like, oh. Like, that's it. That's his only reason.
And then honestly, was one of your strengths as AD carry?
It's like, I don't fucking hard int every game. Like,
you hated assassins? And you hated like people like that, so you would always never die to them.
Yeah, dude. Like I played so much like a bitch against assassins that you know what? They're not snowballing off of me. I'm not doing anything to win the game for us, but I ain't losing it for us either, motherfuckers. Like, this is the worst, best attribute you could ever have as a fucking AD player. Anyhow, I think we've kind of hit most of the start points that I need to work on here, and kind of gotten a lot out of it for this episode.
Yeah. I like your idea that this could be a measurement to see.
Yeah, right. Like keep doing it, see how I'm improving, see if I am improving, and see if my mental stays strong enough to keep doing these. So, yeah. So, anything else? Any last words, Sarc? No. Okay. So, so with that being said, guys, thank you guys so much for watching or listening to the podcast. I guess those who are listening live, it does not mean the stream's ending, just ending the podcast aspect of this. But if you guys, for those who are watching on YouTube or listening on YouTube, if you like it, subscribe, follow Sarcasm on YouTube. He does some pretty neat plays every now and then.
This game.
And if you want to watch more content or hear more of Sarcasm shitting on me or other friends shitting on me, come by to my Twitch stream at twitch.tv/the_Lord_Nick. It'll be down in the description below as well. And I hope to see you guys in the next video. And until then, have yourselves a wonderful, wonderful day.